Prepare to forget everything you think you know about multicolor 3D printing. Because this changes things. Believe it or not, all of the prints you're seeing right now require just a single tool change per layer. What used to take upwards of 5 days now takes less than 1 with this new method. And when combined with other techniques like full spectrum layer dithering, we can, for the first time, efficiently print in full color, unlocking high-fidelity image printing and accurate reproductions of physical objects from 3D scans. Look a little closer, and you might start to get a sense of what's going on. Notice how the extrusions seem to weave in and out? That's the secret sauce. A single color is laid down per layer. What controls which color is exposed where is one of two things, either the extrusion width or an offset applied to the perimeter. Where one extrusion protrudes within the layer, it droops down, blocking the filament from the layer below. So by modulating the extent of overhang between adjacent layers, we can selectively show or hide the colors we desire. And if we do that with CMYK filaments, we can create localized patterns of alternating colors, manifesting the full spectrum phenomena, but in a much more efficient way, and with considerably better results, because it eliminates the extrusion stops and starts where two colors meet. The mastermind behind this is a user called Sentient Stardust. They've done phenomenal work. But like is often the case, they're standing on the shoulders of giants. The method first originated with this research paper, line-based halftoning for dual extrusion fused deposition modeling. It dates back to 2018, when a decent dual extrusion printer would have cost more than a car. Consumer 3D printing was in its infancy back then. And as noted by the authors of this paper, print quality was a wild west, with many artifacts detracting from the end result. Fast forward 8 years, and a good quality 4-color printer can be had for under $1,000. Or better yet, free, because I'm going to be giving this one away to one of you watching this right now. Stay tuned for details a little later on. Thanks to these advancements in technology, we're no longer limited to two-tone prints with this technique. We can extend it to 4 colors or more. And it's not just theory on paper, it's right in your favorite slicer, or a fork thereof. Sentient Stardust Slicer Fork started with image projection as the goal, but in the process, made all multicolor printing more efficient. So let's see how it works. Take for instance this owl model. Printed the traditional way, it takes almost 5 days and 4,000 tool changes. With the near zero waste tool changer like the Snapmaker U1, the main cost is time. But you can imagine how wasteful this would be on an AMS style printer, changing color 4 times per layer, which would cause the print time to balloon even more. On the H2S, for example, this would take almost 7 full days and purge 2 whole kilograms of filament. But this same model can be printed with a single color per layer, modulating the overhang to selectively expose the brown, white, and black, cutting the print time down to 3 days and the purge to 300 grams. The original model is a painted 3MF. To apply this method, we first need to convert the painting to a texture map. This fork has 2 new buttons in the toolbar. This one allows us to manage the texture color data, and this is the interface for image projection. We'll come back to that. To convert the painted 3MF to an image texture, click Manage Color Data for this project, and beside Image Texture, select Create from 3MF Color Regions. This takes the paint from the surface of the model and projects it onto a plane, a 2-dimensional representation. Each mesh facet, or triangle, then gets overlaid onto that image. This process is called UV unwrapping. So instead of an STL inside this 3MF, we now effectively have an OBJ with an accompanying MTL and PNG. If you know what all of those acronyms mean, congratulations, you're officially a 3D printing nerd. And for the rest of you, well, these are the same file formats that you get from a color 3D scan. But note that the UV unwrapping here uses a brute force approach of assigning each triangle individually to a patch of color in the generated image. It doesn't yield a coherent texture with continuous UV islands. But if you're starting with a properly UV unwrapped mesh, it respects that and keeps the texture data as is on import. Which is another awesome feature of this fork. You can directly drop a textured OBJ, and rather than having the colors posterized and a discrete mapping applied, which is what would normally happen, it's imported as is. Because with this approach, we're not just limited to solid colors. We can print various shades thereof, and gradients too. And not just one-dimensional gradients either. They can be in 2 dimensions. Simply change the option from texture map to gradient, specify the direction and which filaments to include. Here's a close-up of what that looks like in practice. In the lower corner, the dark filament dominates, but it's slowly faded out in favor of white. And over here, you can start to see a hint of pink being faded in. But we're getting a little bit sidetracked. Back to the owl. With the conversion complete, you can see that it's automatically created a texture mapping zone, which functions similarly to virtual colors in full spectrum. Instead of applying a specific filament to the model, you can apply the texture map instead by selecting it from the dropdown. Then slice the model and watch the magic happen. What used to require multiple tool changes per layer now takes only one, which not only has the benefit of time savings, it also saves material too. Because for whatever reason, most slicers draw extra perimeters at the interface between colors that extend into the interior volume. So the same model that used to require 815 grams of filament now only needs 430, a 47% reduction. And that's not accounting for any flush or purge that would normally happen between tool changes. So it's a massive improvement in efficiency for both time and material consumption. And that's just scratching the surface of what this fork can do. In that example, we were optimizing the deposition of the loaded filaments to control where they show up. But this can also be combined with the full spectrum methodology to create intermediate shades. Take this cube for instance, which has an image projected on it. This region matches precisely one of our loaded filament colors, magenta. So in this area, we want to completely hide the others, cyan and yellow, as we did with the owl. Hide the white and brown to make the wings black. But we don't have any green filament loaded. So in order to represent the color in that area, we'll use dithering. By hiding the magenta and alternately exposing the cyan and yellow, we can get the desired effect. But recall that we're not actually changing the order of colors being laid down. We're just adjusting their prominence. Every third layer here is still magenta, and every non-magenta layer is one of either cyan or yellow. The pattern never changes. It's cyan, yellow, magenta, repeat, over the extent of the model's height. The only thing that changes is how prominent they are in a given layer. So how does that work exactly? Well, as I mentioned earlier, there's two approaches. In one case, we're adjusting the flow rate to vary the line width, and in the other, we're physically offsetting the perimeter extrusions. The net result is the same. Where the extrusions protrude, they droop down, obscuring the unwanted colors in the preceding layers which have had the opposite offset applied. In the case of perimeter modulation, the magenta path is offset out and the others in. In the case of line width modulation, the extrusion width for the magenta layer is increased at that point, while that for the preceding layers of cyan and yellow is decreased. Which approach to take depends on the application. Line width modulation has higher horizontal resolution, but it can lead to ghosting artifacts when pressure advance isn't properly calibrated. Perimeter path modulation has a fixed line width, so it avoids this type of artifact. The resolution ends up being slightly lower, but the color contrast is higher. So which algorithm to choose is going to depend on the result you're trying to achieve. You can find all of these settings in the Advanced Options menu, along with some others. Now let me show you how to get an image onto the model in the first place, using the built-in image projection tool. Click the Load Image button to select your file. Position it as desired on the model, then click the Project button. This creates a new texture mapping zone, and when you slice, you'll see it uses the same efficient deposition strategy. Comparing this to another image projection utility will illustrate the benefits of the continuous extrusions. This tool creates clusters of CMY pixels, which are very difficult to print in practice, leading to poor results. You can see from the side-by-side that one print is much cleaner than the other, and that's the one that came from the Orca Slicer image map fork. You can even project images onto the prime tower, bringing a whole new meaning to the name, and turning what would be waste plastic into a work of art. Is it safe to call this a game changer yet? I know it's an overused term, so I'll let you be the judge. Each of these things individually is awesome. Put them together and, well, I'm pretty impressed. But in case that's not enough, here's one more. You may have also noticed that the cube has an image projected on the top and bottom surfaces. Clearly this can't use the same technique as the sidewalls, because there's no overhangs to modulate. So there's a different method being employed here. And it actually solves one of the known limitations with full spectrum, which is that color mixing doesn't apply to top surfaces. It's called contoning, and it too is based on an academic research paper. In contrast to halftoning techniques that create colors by spatial combination of inks on the surface, contoning creates colors by superimposing inks inside the printed volume. This method was developed for UV printers, hence the mention of inks. But Sentient Stardust applied this same theory to filaments. The top and bottom surfaces are comprised of a stack of layers, the colors in each being intentionally placed, such that they combine to form the desired color when accounting for the translucency of the material. The translucency is parameterized by the so-called transmission distance, the same variable used by HueForge to predict color combinations. If you know the values for your filaments, you can input them here. Toggling preview result colors will show a prediction of the actual printed colors, rather than the idealized ones from your input image. The default prediction model uses a library called Pigment Painter, a physics-based simulation of how two pigments blend to create new colors. But nothing beats calibrating with the exact filaments you intend to use. And for this, Sentient Stardust also has us covered. They've created a companion calibration utility that can be used to generate test sheets. After printing, take a photo with a standard camera and feed it back into the software. This allows us to visualize the color gamut, the range of colors we can achieve through the combination of these filaments. No colorimeter or other special equipment required. The data can then be exported and imported into the slicer, so what you see is what you get. With the calibration data applied, the print looks pretty close to what it shows in the slicer preview. Because of the difference in the physics, the sidewall and top surface colors will need to be calibrated independently. So you'll need to print one sheet of each, with one standing up and the other lying down. So let's recap. With this fork, we can print standard multicolor models much more efficiently, with shorter print times and less filament waste. We can import full color OBJ files and print them directly, without reducing the palette. We can project images onto sidewalls, top and bottom surfaces, or even the prime tower, and print them in high resolution with continuous unbroken extrusions. And we can do all of the above, taking advantage of the full spectrum phenomena to create colors that aren't really there, with the added benefit of being able to calibrate the results to our exact filaments so expectations match reality. That's all pretty awesome, but let's talk candidly about the limitations, because there are some. This method isn't ideal for prints with shallow curvature. There's not enough overhang to hide the unwanted colors, and we can only use contoning on completely flat surfaces, so it won't be suitable for all geometries. The other drawback is that in some cases, it can make layer lines look more prominent than they would otherwise, particularly with opaque filaments. This owl is printed with 0.16mm layer height, but visually it looks more like 0.3, because the space between layers of the same color is 3 to 4 times what it would be normally, and the filament doesn't always droop enough to close that gap. But I'm sure there's plenty more tuning that can be done to improve the results. I've only scratched the surface of what's possible with all of these settings, but I'd love to know what you think. Will you try this method out? What applications would you have for it? And what about that printer giveaway? Here are the details. As some of you will already know, for the past year, I've been building my dream 3D printer dashboard. Professional print farm software without the professional price tag, and free of any cloud dependencies. It runs completely locally, sets up in seconds, and has an industry-leading feature set, like auto ejection, spaghetti detection, shop integrations, filament library management, and a dynamic job queue that intelligently routes tasks to the best compatible printers. It's fundamentally changed how I operate my 3D printers, and it can do the same for you. The best part, no subscriptions. We're launching with a lifetime license, and it starts at less than $100. If you're familiar with the comparable alternatives, you'll know just how insane that value proposition is. Watchtower will be launching on Kickstarter later this year. You won't want to miss it. And to sweeten the pot, we're giving away a brand new Snapmaker U1 to one person that does these 3 things. Visit our Kickstarter pre-launch page and click Notify Me. Subscribe to this channel and leave a comment below. That's it. Thank you to Snapmaker for supporting the production of this video and sponsoring that giveaway. And a huge kudos to Sentient Stardust for making all of this possible. Seriously, great work. Thanks for watching. My name's Taylor, this is YGK3D, and until next time, happy 3D printing.